Overall, I must say that the movie, the depiction that I mentioned earlier, the movie feels too fun to a certain extent. Like too much fun is being had. Please let me know. That's a huge question for me. Did this movie feel too joyful for you? Because it did to me. Like something about it, just like they want us to have fun right here in this action scene. It don't feel like I should be having fun. What's good, everybody? Welcome to Whole Views. My name is Corey, and today we're talking about The Woman King. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't so far. We do movie reviews, we do trailer reactions, sometimes we cover video game content, sometimes we do Fire on Friday. There's a lot of different things we do here on the channel, and we would love to have you aboard, coming back and checking out videos, dropping comments, telling us what you think about the things that we like to watch. I give The Woman King 6.8 out of 10 on my little scale. You can look into the description and see the numbers and how they break down and why they break down, how they break down. But here, we're gonna be doing the movie review in two phases. First, we're gonna talk about the historical context of the movie, and then we're gonna be talking about the movie itself. So I will provide a link at this point. In one of these little corners, you're gonna see a bubble pop up. That is to my trailer reaction. That trailer reaction got over 10,000 views and a whole lot of comments from people talking about the Dahomey tribe and what they really were in history. And since doing that video and getting all those comments, the one phrase that has been in my mind about the movie was revisionist history. Is this movie going to be revisionist history? The answer to that question is yes, but it's not all bad. So let's get into the revisionist history side of the review. We know from the abundance of comments that the Dahomey tribe were slavers. They participated willingly in the slave trade. But this movie actually tries to spin it and turn that whole idea on its head and present us with the idea, the possibility that the Dahomey tribe were actually kind of coerced into participating in the slave trade and were reluctant about it, and at times were really vocal and really adamant about getting out. Although there's a lot of research that's online and present and available to us, I like the way they tried to present that to us because none of us were there. And if none of us were there, then there's some possibilities that, hey, maybe we could just accept and go with it. So maybe they entered the slave trade reluctantly, kind of forced into it. Maybe some kings actually favored the slave trade more than others, and certain people maybe wanted to get out. And maybe there were people who tried to convince the king, the higher up people, trying to convince the king, hey, we need to abandon this slave trade because it's evil. All that stuff is possible. All that stuff could have happened. I was okay with it. I'm glad that they chose to include it and roll with it. What I did not like, though, was the ending. The ending is a lie, and you could read right there on the internet that even though there may have been individuals that did not like the slave trade and their participation in it, the movie presents you with the idea that someone in the tribe convinced the king to abandon the slave trade, and by the end of the film, he's made up his decision and it's done. The slave trade is over and they're not going to be participating in it anymore. And that's not actually how it went, though. So the events of the movie are semi-accurate. You do have the king trying to introduce the idea of trading the palm oil as well as the gold as a replacement for the slave trade. But it was not an internal decision based on the history that we have and the links that we can follow. It was more the idea of the British saying, hey, we are not going to allow slaves to continue to be captured from Africa and pushed out into other places in the world. And that king had to gradually end slavery. He didn't just do it because a new person came to power and had enough influence and influenced him. It just didn't happen that way. It wasn't that simple. It wasn't cut and dry. It was a gradual decline. And that's the only thing that I really didn't like about the historical context of the movie, revisionist history or not. All things in the film being pretty close to what we know from, just clicking different links. I think that they did okay. I don't like the depiction of slavery ending in the Dahomey tribe coming to a screeching halt when it was really more gradual decline. The only problem, everything else, as far as the slavery elements and their participation in it was concerned, I was okay. The depiction, We'll get to that. But talking about the depiction, let's go ahead and get to that. The movie side of things. When you look at the movie and take all the history out and just look at it as a Hollywood production, it was all right. And I think that's the problem. Like, it was all right to me. It wasn't amazing as I anticipated it being. The positives. Viola Davis is Viola Davis, and she has so much power in her performance. She delivers so much emotion, and there's so much that you can infer just by looking at the emotions that she carries from scene to scene, because there's not a lot of dialogue that you get from her in the beginning, but you instantly know how she feels about certain things because her performance is so telling. Love Viola Davis in the movie. Lashana Lynch was great in the movie. Sheila Atim was present in the movie, and she did more than I thought she could do as an actress, as well as she did more than I thought she would do as an actress in the movie. I thought she would just kind of be more of a role player in the background, but she really had a lot more weight and a lot more performance than I've ever seen from her in other properties. The most notable one was Doctor Strange, and I feel like she was only in there for like a blip. She was in the second one. But I like what she did here, and I think she's proven to be more than capable, a good actress. But that's pretty much it for the positives, though. Let's go ahead into the negatives that I feel like is a very long list compared to that very short positives list. The movie felt like a collection of scenes for about 30 minutes in. I was watching it, me and the wife, and we leaned over like, does this feel cohesive to you? And the response was no. It was not very cohesive to us. This movie is sold to you in the trailers as a Viola Davis vehicle. Like, this is her movie. This is you're gonna get Viola Davis. And you really don't get much Viola Davis until the second act. And I had problems with that because that was the character that I wanted to see. I wanted to see the physicality and all that weight training she did, and it just did not translate much until the second act. And then you get a lot more Viola Davis being vocal and following her story and learning about her character. The movie is kind of focused on Thuso Mbedu Nawe. That character is focused on her in the beginning, and it's focused so much on her and follows her story so closely that by the time you get to Viola Davis at the end or in the middle, and you start to connect the Nawe character with Viola Davis's character, and you get the backstory, and it's like, at that point, I don't care nearly as much as I would have if you would have just gave me some Viola Davis right off the jump. Nawe, that character and her whole storyline, her love story with the little foreign guy, was cheap, cheesy, and formulaic. I didn't like it. I didn't like its inclusion. I feel like the movie would have flowed better if you just cut him and that whole thing out of there. I don't like the way that they try to put certain things in here to like not demonize certain people all the time, but I just didn't like it. I feel like it came across as making the Nawe character even more childish and even more immature and just making worse decisions as the movie went along. And it was mainly due to this little romantic thing that they felt the need to include when you have so much other stuff that you could do in the movie. I think specifically to John Boyega, like, this movie almost wasted John Boyega. He did have enough charisma when he was on screen and enough little, to make it worth having him, but it was almost like as if you didn't need a John Boyega. You could have put Nameless Man in that position and it would have been done close to the same. But he did bring a little bit to it. I feel like the movie almost wasted him though, and that's definitely a negative. Overall, I must say that the movie, the depiction that I mentioned earlier, the movie feels too fun to a certain extent. Like, too much fun is being had. It's too gleeful or joyful, something about the way things are characterized and depicted. Like, we have slavery as a backdrop of this. Like, this tribe participates in the slave trade. We have rape that is occurring. We have war among African tribes, brothers and sisters from the motherland fighting. I don't like how fun and like just Hollywood standard action that I'm seeing from this. I wanted to see a bit more grit, a bit more realism. The bad guys were just worse versions of the people that we knew, and I just wanted something a bit more realistic feeling, and it felt like a standard action movie with some I I can't put my finger on the word, but it just had this kind of fun feel to it at certain points. And I was like, I don't feel like this is the right depiction of everything. If that's the mood that the directors were going for, I feel like they dropped the ball. Because again, some of the training montages and some of the interactions from Lashana Lynch with Nawe, and like some of that stuff is just way too fun. And I feel like it needed to be a bit more serious. Not saying that I didn't like Lashana Lynch's character and the way that she was presented. I did, and it made her death scene that much more impactful. It's just something about the movie didn't feel like it was as serious as it needed to be. And that's where I'll leave it, y'all. Let me know what y'all think about the movie in the comment section. Please let me know. That's a huge question for me. Did this movie feel too joyful for you? Because it did to me. Like something about it, just like they want us to have fun right here in this action scene. It don't feel like I should be having fun. But anyway, enjoy yourself, guard your heart, go watch something good. This is pretty good. It's pretty good.